This video was produced by
How's it going? Well, we're going to get started here. This is the Education Workforce track with the Workforce Needs panel. And this is going to be a little bit different because we do have 3 speakers, although 2 of them are here and 1 is going to come to us via Skype, hopefully. But again, the reminders, and I'm sure you've all heard them, but the biggest things are the job board. If you're offering a position or you're looking for a job, you need to get out there because we are collecting resumes and business cards in hopes to link you guys together. And don't forget to come to the cookout tonight. So for only $5, you can come out and hear Annie and Mac old-time music, jam a little, and have some hamburgers and hot dogs. You guys are hungry, right? It's inside. Yeah, it's not outside. I'm stalling. So I'm Remy. You all know me, so I'm not going to do my introduction. But we are going to get started. I'm sorry that we don't have our OEA representative here. We had some miscommunication issues, and so you're stuck with me. So hopefully this will be good. So the idea with this panel is that we have a representative from the 4-year colleges, Susan Stewart from Penn State, and we have a representative from our 2-year colleges, Earl, Dodrill from Dabney Lancaster, and then on the phone we will have Adrian Skinner, who's from, no, Adrian Skinner. Oh, Skinner, okay. I thought maybe I had their name wrong. And she is with GE, and she does a lot of the training for the new employees of GE. So the idea with this panel was to kind of start the conversation about what our 2-year and 4-year colleges can do to help make our students ready for the industry, and having industry here to tell us what is it that they need to do to train their employees that maybe we can help them do. So where can we work together and where can we bridge these gaps in the workforce needs? So that's the plan. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker, Susan Stewart from Penn State. She is a faculty member in the Aerospace Engineering and Architectural Engineering departments at Penn State. How much of this do you want me to tell everyone? Is that good enough? She'll tell you a little bit more about herself. So I'm going to hand it over to Susan.
And I need to hold this at all times? Yeah. Okay. Okay. And, oh, good. And I can also see my slides up here. Great. So I told Remy that I was going to be introducing myself a little bit so she didn't have to say too much. But I am also sort of coordinating renewable energy workforce development efforts at Penn State and the College of Engineering specifically. And I'm the director of the Pennsylvania Wind for Schools program. I guess that says Penn State. I slip on that occasionally. The arrow? That's an arrow. Oh. Okay. So I wanted to give a little bit of my background because it, well, sometimes people don't understand why I'm teaching in wind energy or how I got into it, and that's sort of multiple pathways to getting there. But I'm a Penn State grad. I actually grew up in State College and have circled back around to be employed there now. But mechanical engineering is my background. I also got my graduate degrees in mechanical engineering, but I went to Georgia Tech for those. And I worked there for a few years, and while I was there I got involved, or once I finished, I worked with my advisor to start up a group called the Strategic Energy Institute, and I did a offshore wind feasibility study for a Southern company. And actually one of the first places where I was teaching about wind energy was to a room full of folks from Southern company. So we did a 2-year offshore wind feasibility study for coastal Georgia there. And then I moved back up to Penn State in 2007. And for a few years I was working with our applied research laboratory doing, developing sort of a new business area for them. They are a sort of a DoD-related facility. They do a lot of research for the Navy, but I was trying to find good ways to use their capabilities to do wind energy and other renewable energy related work. And more recently, I've switched over to a position where I'm developing curriculum specifically for wind and also some solar and smart grid areas, split between aerospace engineering and architectural engineering. I'm going to tell you a few things about the programs that we're developing, and I'm also directing the Pennsylvania Wind for Schools program, but I'm not going to dwell too much on that today. So it's certainly not just me at Penn State who's teaching wind energy. Some of my collaborators are listed here. George Stewart is the department head in aerospace engineering, and for sure aerospace has been the lead department on developing curricula, but we have other faculty in mechanical, civil, electrical, and also we have a new major called energy engineering, which is undergoing ABET accreditation at the undergraduate level right now. And we have a new faculty member, Sven Schmitz, in aerospace engineering. So that was a strategic hire by Penn State to bring in somebody in wind energy. I guess I'm sort of new in this department too, so the department's really been growing its wind energy area. And a more senior faculty member, Dennis McLaughlin, who's actually the former head of the department. He's been doing a lot with educating in wind as well. So I had a few slides that were trying to answer this question, why is wind energy education needed? And then I recalled that Ian Baring-Gould has charted out pretty nicely really the intersection between industry and all the different levels of education and how they interact with each other. And it's extremely complicated, but it's all extremely necessary too. That all these different groups need to be communicating together and having an overall plan. And the only thing perhaps missing on this, which I like to think of maybe the green background as being, is really the community, because the community needs education as well in terms of understanding what the impact of wind energy is on them, and so they're more informed to make better decisions about wind energy when it's proposed for their areas. So the key here is just that we have to keep the connections going between all the different levels of education. There's the pipeline coming from the K through 12. The industry needs to be in communication as well as supporting some of these efforts to help grow the interest in wind energy and the basic understanding. So part of what has led to a lot of our efforts and where we are now at Penn State was a grant from the Department of Energy that we received in 2009 entitled Wind Energy Workforce Development, Engineering, Science, and Technology, Meeting the Needs of the Future Now. And at the time, this was when the wind companies just wanted bodies. They needed people. They were growing so quickly that they just wanted us to be graduating people immediately. So that's why we're saying trying to meet the needs of the future now. It's a little bit different now, but we're still charging ahead and hoping that that demand will still be there in a few years. But we also have a different approach, which should make that a little bit more evened out, which I'll mention in a minute. So some of the things that we did a lot of benchmarking when we were looking at programs and trying to define what area we might be have a strength in. There was a webinar a couple weeks ago with Andy Swift from Texas Tech and a few other people who talked about wind workforce. I think it was a Wind Powering America webinar. I don't know if anybody caught that. What's that? Yeah, John was on there too. One thing that I liked how Andy worded it is that, we still need engineering. There are a couple of wind engineering programs out there, but there's still a lot of need for your specific disciplines of engineering, and I think we identified that. Part of it is the really difficult nature of getting ABET accreditation for different programs if you're an engineering discipline. And but having the ability to focus on wind or do, a certificate or a minor or something that's related to wind energy can greatly improve the marketability for students. We've focused more on the graduate level. We do have the energy engineering program, which I teach a wind energy course in that, but in terms of our growth, we're looking at the graduate level. And while there's been a lot of talk about having some uniform curriculum across some different universities at various levels, I think we're finding at graduate level, we think that they shouldn't necessarily be uniform. We should have different universities have different strengths in different disciplines as it is, that wind energy should probably not be much different than that. So we've got strength in acoustics at Penn State, for instance. So we found that there's a market for not just undergrads who then want to go into this program, but also from professionals, people who have an interest in wind energy and want to learn more about it, people who are actually in the industry and want to have a broader exposure to the different elements of it. So we set out to try to define our niche. We had a panel of experts that we've been communicating with to help us decide what our curriculum was going to look like. And really the feedback we heard quite loudly was there are only going to be so many next generation wind turbine designers. But there's going to be a lot more people who are trying to get wind turbines in the ground and still need to be technically competent, still need engineers in that field, as well as a lot of other people. And all these things come together, so just in terms of siting and project development. So, but it kind of goes the other way, is that the people who design the wind turbines also need to know this information to properly design wind turbines that can operate in different sites. So we use that as a little bit of a guidance. So this is sort of an overview of all the things that we're really doing. And when we got this funding in 2009, it was a 2-year project. We actually got a 1-year no-cost extension because we had a little, I don't want to say hiccup, but it was a coincidence that Penn State was starting to look at developing an online professional master's degree in renewable energy and sustainability systems, which it just so happened we had proposed to develop our courses to be online, and it seemed they'd kind of fit nicely in this program as an option. So we had to take a bit of a step back to get ourselves aligned with that program as it was developing, and delayed us a little bit, but now we're in a really good place where this program is almost approved. So we're aiming to offer our first online graduate wind energy course possibly in the fall. If not in the fall, then it'll be in the spring, and the program should be approved in the spring. Through our grant with DOE, we also partnered with Penn College of Technology. They're in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. They are a technical school, but they are actually part of the Penn State family now. And they received funding to install a 10-kilowatt turbine, which is supporting their renewable energy technology degree program, which is now up and running. And we've also developed a wind energy engineering short course, which I'll talk about a little bit more in a minute. And we also have the Pennsylvania Wind for Schools program. So again, this is not entirely aerospace engineering, but a lot of the leadership is coming out of aerospace. But we have partners across the College of Engineering, as well as our College of Earth and Mineral Sciences. So this Inter-College Master of Professional Studies in Renewable Energy and Sustainability Systems, or what we call RES, or IMPS RES, is interdisciplinary. It crosses 4 different colleges and would be offered through what Penn State calls their distance education platform as World Campus. We actually, I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Penn State system. We've got satellite campuses all around the state. We've got over 20 of them. And of our satellite campuses, World Campus is now the 2nd largest, I believe. So University Park being the largest, where we've got something like 40,000 students. I think we've got over 10,000 online in the World Campus now. So they're always trying to find programs to grow that the enrollment in World Campus. So these are the different departments involved. And the curriculum, we've got a core curriculum, which everybody would take. Really got the sustainability systems is sort of a key aspect of this, where it's, which actually we're getting a little bit of feedback that sustainability is a broad term, so everybody has their own understanding of it. So we're trying to communicate what we mean by that, and adding the word system to it is really a key part of how we're describing it too. And within it, the program, then I mentioned wind energy. It seemed to be that it was going to make a very nice option. There are other options, one in solar energy, one in bioenergy, and sustainability management and policy. So, but then each one of these options is intended to be a graduate certificate on its own. So if you didn't want to get a master's degree, but you just wanted to take the 3 courses that we had, you'd get some recognition for getting those, taking them and passing them and having them under your belt. You'd get an actual graduate certificate. That was the original intent of the grant that we wrote. So having it actually be an option in a master's program is beyond what we had originally intended, but really fell into place very nicely. And you'll note I have a asterisk or a star saying the curriculum is still undergoing Penn State approval. This is probably for legal purposes, but I want to make sure we're still getting our final approvals. So a few details could potentially change before it comes out. Another interesting thing is we have, I don't know how many universities have this distinction, but our graduate courses have two different numbering systems. We've got 500 and we have 800 level. We have 600 levels dissertations also, but the 800 level is what a lot of our courses are in this program, and they're really for more of a professional nature. So these aren't people who are doing a thesis and in-depth fundamental science types of studies. These are people who are learning the state of the practice of the art of their topic as it stands. So it's somewhat defines the audience too, which is, again, we think the professional audience is where there's a lot of interest, but it can also feed into people who are in the resident programs and want to extend their education as well. These are the general program objectives of this, which, again, our WIND program seemed to align fairly nicely. Really just educating in energy and sustainability science, energy and sustainability project development. So that's actually, while we identified it as being sort of the way to go in terms of educating in wind energy, rather than really the alternative is designing the design, or educating the design engineers. Really, project development is actually something that threads through this entire master's degree program, and it really just kind of laid out like that. Business acumen, and energy and sustainability leadership, and advanced critical thinking. Oh, that was John. Okay, that's you. So the wind energy option, I won't read through this explicitly. It kind of says all the things that I've just been talking about, but has this general technical depth with the project development overview. So these are the three courses, which I think I have in more detail, but one that looks specifically at the wind turbine as a system, one that looks at the aerodynamics of the wind turbine, and one that looks at the sort of the engineering aspects of wind project development. And we'll kind of see this as a growing, this is just the base list, and eventually we'll grow and add more courses. Probably something like, if you are not an aerodynamicist, maybe someday we'll have something that's focused more on like an electrical engineer for that middle course, for example. But we got to start somewhere. This is, again, more detail on that, and the actual list of topics that we have in our course proposals for these. Again, they're all online, and I think that's probably an important distinction now with not knowing what the market's going to be like, and for hiring people in this field over the next couple of years, just depending on what happens with the production tax credit and the industry in the U.S. But with an online program, anybody in the world could take it. So we're not entirely tied into what's happening here locally. But even so, people don't necessarily have to work in the United States when they're done with the program. They could go somewhere else. There's going to be demand all over the world as we keep moving on here. So I mentioned we had an advisory board, so these were the members who helped inform our curriculum as we were developing it. And we've also, in this course, we weren't planning to do this, but kind of stumbled upon the opportunity to teach a short course for industry. Somewhat surprising that, and we do have somebody who's going to be talking with us about industry training their own people, and they do that. But I think there was a unique need for some large influx of people who are coming into one of the companies had asked us to come and just give them a broad overview of wind energy engineering. And now we've continued that and offered a short course last fall, or August, almost fall, in university time. And we have another one scheduled again this August. This is a little flyer for it. But finding that, again, that's sort of that aspect of the project development area and all of the technical aspects that go into that are of interest to people who are designing wind turbines, because they need to have that broader understanding to design a wind turbine to operate in different locations and under different conditions effectively. So another aspect of what has been going on at Penn State, this is also something that's actually more funded internally, an internal investment with a lot of mostly personal investment rather than finance from the department, is a wind projects class, which is led by my colleague Dennis McLaughlin, where we have a lot of projects being, well, we have this research turbine. I don't know, does this, that one does? Okay. So after visiting the facility here, I'm a little embarrassed to show you the pictures of our turbines, but this is a 3.5 kilowatt Whisper 500 turbine. It's not on a very tall tower. It was actually placed there in a time where I don't know that the person who sited it really knew what they were doing, but it does get good wind occasionally, and we're using it as a research platform. Students have designed new blades and built them here. We've got a lot of resources, again, with Applied Research Laboratory, where I used to live, to work. Has been a great supporter of this effort too. This is our research team and our data acquisition system here. Moving on, I think I have another picture of the facility as it stands now. That was a little while ago, but these are some of the projects, for example, that students will do in that class. So one, they've been trying to get the data running from our new SkyStream turbine on campus. The research turbine is the one I just showed you the picture of. There's always something to do with that in terms of data or designing new components for it. We haven't actually put any new components on it yet, but it's because it's a tremendous risk to put anything new on it. So we have to make sure that the safety factors are really strong and that we're not going to have any failures. But we also do tests in our wind tunnels with small turbines, and as I showed you, designing the new blades and actually building them with composite materials, numerical experiments, and some that compare with our field tests as well. So we've got a little hut now to house all of our equipment. Actually, that was a project in itself by the architecture department to build that structure. It's made out of almost entirely recycled materials, and took a while to get Penn State approval to actually build it there. But you can see this tree, which I'm purposefully trying to hide here. This is what I was talking about in terms of not siting that turbine in perhaps the best place possible. But luckily, the predominant wind direction flows kind of right through here, and we can get good data out of it maybe 5 months of the year or so. The other turbine we have is our SkyStream. So this is affiliated with our Wind for Schools program. It's on a 70-foot tower. It's got a motorized lift, which is pretty sweet, I must say. And we've got anemometers and wind vanes up there, and a security camera, which I noticed you guys had a security camera too. Our campus people love to have the view. Oh, is it? Oh, is that okay? Yeah. But what you can't see in this picture, and I was digging through my computer looking for more recent pictures, but I ended up with the computer simulation of this facility is our 2007 Morningstar home from the solar decathlon. And so it's been placed on a permanent site with a basement, and we have a nice mechanical room in there. We've got the solar, we've got the wind, we have geothermal, solar thermal, and we have a solar carport with an electric vehicle, well, with a Chevy Volt plugging in there. So this is a part of a whole big research infrastructure now. But the objective with our research turbine in particular is collecting data on a very fine time scale. So we're trying to resolve down to about 3 seconds rather than taking 10-minute averages. We're actually taking half-second data and averaging it to 3 seconds. And this is fairly complicated stuff, but we're just trying to be able to more accurately and quickly resolve if we make changes to the turbine, if they're going to do anything. So that's just a quick sample of some of the things that we do in the projects class, which, again, my colleague Dennis runs. And then the Pennsylvania Wind for Schools program, which is very similar to the James Madison's program, where we're trying to get small wind turbines at schools around the state. I guess one thing that may be different is I integrate my feasibility studies into my course, specifically with junior and senior level energy engineering students. And but similarly, we train teachers, and we also have had one Kid Wind Challenge. I know you guys have had 2 now, but we're always looking for great ideas from JMU when we're talking about our Wind for Schools program. So. I think that's it. So I guess I meant to just give you a broad overview of what Penn State's doing in our sort of wind workforce development realm. But happy to, if I glazed over something that you wanted to hear more about, please write a question down and send it up at the end.
She don't mind, so if I just want to call her now, she can speak next.
I'm done.
Okay. Thank you. So you should just give her a call. If not, I'll call her cell phone.
Hello.
Hey, Adrian, it's Remy.
Hi, Remy.
Hey, I'm just going to introduce you now, so good timing.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. So on the phone with us, we have Adrian Skinner from GE Renewable Energy, or Energy Renewables. She's a technical instructor at GE and instructs internal technicians, business leaders, and customers on theoretical and hands-on training for wind energy. Before that, she was one of 2 leads for GE Renewable Operation Center, charged with monitoring and operating over 3,000 GE wind turbines. A veteran of the U.S. Navy, Adrian served in Operation Enduring Freedom aboard the USS Enterprise as a nuclear electrician before being honorably discharged as an E6, a member of the Schenectady chapter of the Women of Wind Energy and the GE Women's Network and Veterans Network. Adrian graduated from Excelsior College with a Bachelor's of Science in Technology. And with that, Adrian, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Thank you very much. Can everybody hear me okay?
Yes.
So we've got 2 slides today talking about General Electric's college translation program that we have. And the first slide discusses our college program, or I'm sorry, our training program. Our technicians go through a rigorous amount of training. In the first year, they get 500 hours of training between online and classroom instruction. And it's all certified, get badged, and we do a lot of partnerships with the 2-year schools, prime locations to our turbines. So as we were building our technician program, we looked and said, what can we do for our technicians and help them expand their careers and get into college credit for all this training we do. That's where Excelsior College comes into play. They are a regionally accredited online school, and since we have technicians all over the world, that was a perfect model for us. You can get either an associate's or a bachelor's degree, and our technicians can actually get about 48 credits. And this partnership worked both for us and for Excelsior, because they were kind of looking and debating on having a renewable energy program themselves. So they've had a partnership with us. If you can go to the next slide. I'm on 2 computers, and the second one's not working. You should see my project timeline as long as some of additional information on this. The college degree will be in renewable energy technologies. Like I said, 49 credits. We've put 2 test cases together, and they're 2 different level technicians for us. And they have gone through and are both attending classes. And we've recently presented all the way from our vice president down to the service technician, and it's had a great takeoff. We've got 10 students enrolled in college as of Monday. So, like I said, we've had partnership with them. We give them consultation on different aspects of today's business and what we're seeing in the actual real-time renewable, specifically wind energy business. That's really the very basics of our program. We've spent about 6 months to put this all together. Our average technician who comes into our program has a minimum of a 2-year degree. That leaves roughly 500 people to get their college degree from the time, a 4-year degree from the time they enter GE, which is important for them to move up outside of the technician role. If anybody has any questions, I would love to answer them.
Thank you, Adrian. I'm sure we're going to have more questions. I don't think we're going to do a Q&A at the end, and Earl is going to give his presentation next. So we'd like to keep you online so that you can participate in the Q&A. Does that work?
That is perfect.
Okay, and just as a recap, since you, we didn't have you around for the intro, but I was just kind of explaining to the crowd that the idea behind this panel was to get kind of industry 2-year and 4-year colleges to give their perspective of where we are in terms of what we're offering in terms of workforce development, but also where are the needs and how can all 3 of these entities work together so that there's a maybe more of a seamless transition between a 2-year to 4-year to an industry like a GE. So hopefully you'll be able to participate in that discussion.
Sure.
Okay, great. Earl, I'm going to turn it over to you then. Earl comes to us from Dabney Lancaster Community College. He is a 30-year veteran of the Virginia Community College system and has served and enjoyed a progressively challenging career as a teaching faculty, Dean for Engineering and Applied Science, Workforce Coordinator, Tech Prep Director, Career Pathways Developer, and Curriculum Developer. He is known as a creative educator and champion for career and technology, or career and technical education. And I'm going to leave it with you to go further on that one. So Earl's great, and I look forward to your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am. I also sweep the floors, move chairs, whatever is necessary at the college at any given moment in time. My goal with the presentation today was to talk about kind of the evolution and the development at the technician level. And so my goal was to talk to you from that standpoint, and again to make sure at the end, if there are any questions, that we answer those for you. What do I do? You okay? I can do it. Go ahead. Hit it again. We offer a wind service turbine technician program. We were approached several years ago by economic development folks and different ones to put together a program. We're about as unlikely a place as you probably could imagine, very rural part of western Virginia. As we like to say, or nobody else but me likes to say, we're up a holler, and you can find us there at some point in time. We've had a lot of experiences. I think we've learned some lessons, but again, my goal is to emphasize technician level education, as Remy said in the introductory portion, and you'll also see all the way through a kind of a ribbon with my presentation beginning literally at the middle school level and working its way through ultimately to a 4-year degree and beyond. My name is Earl Dodrill. Remy loves to call me Dodrill, just to so I call her Larson, but that's another thing. We do have a new wind turbine on campus. You'll see this picture pop up several times. It's about $200,000 worth of technology, so we like to show the picture as often as we possibly can. Let's talk about, first of all, where we started. We very enthusiastic, excited, energized. Looking back now, I'm amazed at how smart we were. We wrote this in collaboration, this huge grant, and said, you know, we'll be able to serve 12 students, and then maybe 13 the next year, and well, the first year we had 60 applicants and took in 30 students. So we hit the ground running, to say the least. We were moving along as fast as we could, and also I was quite scared, as you can see, beyond just being eager and so forth. But we jumped into it. Everybody pulled together. And I think we came through okay. A lot of partnerships. You've heard that in every presentation. This type of a thing cannot be done in isolation or on an island somewhere. We are part of the Shenandoah Valley Partnership. Very proud of that. That provided primary source of funding to get us started. Lord Fairfax Community College, Blue Ridge, us, JMU, Virginia Manufacturer, several of us involved. JMU has been, as everyone else has said, great to work with. Very helpful at the times that you need some help. Department of Mines, Mineral and Energy provided the primary source of funding for our wind turbine, and you'll also see that we have a climbing tower now as a part of our training. Invenergy is a private industry, private contractor with I think they're now 5th in the country, something along that lines in megawatts generated. The Allegheny Foundation, I put that on, it's a local foundation for us to kind of show the cooperation that happened from federal, state, and from the local funding. Our college foundation contributed ultimately to the development of the program, and sister colleges, when we started, well before the curriculum ever hit the ground, we were in Texas, we were in all parts of the West, trying to find out what they were doing, as well as when here. I've always wanted to say in a presentation somewhere, and many more, because I always envision somebody by the name of Minnie there, but actually I think we're talking about many more. Go ahead. We used a career pathway design in the development. The career pathway design meant to us that we would start working with kids roughly at the 7th grade level. In the state of Virginia, if you're not aware now, there is a requirement that students have, or kids have, a pathway to the career, beginning at 7th grade level. So what we did was write our curriculum beginning there with just the very basics of things from math and sciences and so forth. What I like about the program from my standpoint is, as an educator, it lays the groundwork and it keeps a person moving, and they're guaranteed. And okay, you know, if I get to this level, you know, the next thing's ready for me, and it's on a certain pattern, a certain schedule for completion. We readily figured out they're not all of our applicants are going to come from the high school or traditional age students. So we had to open doors, so to speak, which is a part of the Career Pathways concept. So there were many different ways to enter the program as an adult, traditional adult dislocated workers. We validated the curriculum. We used the AWEA model. They had done a kind of a modified DACM, doing some work across the United States to find out what employers wanted in technicians. We took that 2008 model, broke it down, put it into courses in what we thought was a chronological sequence of aligned courses. Aligned to us means aligned vertically, that if you begin at 7th grade, by the time you get to the 12th grade and on, everything is aligned. You're picking up the courses as you need it. They're also aligned horizontally. You're taking the math, the English, so forth at the time that you need them. A lot of workplace learning. We do placement mid-program. We thought, now here's one of our experiences, we had so much interest and demand, we thought that placement of our students midway through the program in internships was going to be a walk in the park. No. I think the first year we were able to place maybe 6 out of the 30. And I got to talking to my counterparts at Iowa and different places, buddies that we had gained over the years, having the same problem. So at that point then we came up with an alternate, what I call an OR course, and the idea was if we can't place you in an internship, then we'll give you something to replace those credits that is of value to you and to employers. Test out options. Before I got into this type program, I used to manage, and I developed a motorsports program. We talked about not wanting to spin your wheels. We don't want our students spinning their wheels. When they get there, if they already have the knowledge and skills that they would gain in a particular course, then we let them test out and move on to the next course. Move on through to get them out into the industry as quickly as possible. Then is employment, placement at the end of the program. Our first graduating class just completed. Out of that 30 that we started with, we graduated 20. Not too bad of a yield. We have out of that 20 right now 5 placed. One is going to Alaska next week, and he's promised to get me a ticket so I can come up and visit and make sure it's a bona fide thing. Follow up. We want the employers to tell us how our graduates, how our people are doing. We follow up with our students, what could we have done different? How can we improve? Continuous quality improvement is something that's very important to us, that we can keep our curriculum at the technician level. That's one of the things that's vital to us, is to keep our curriculum current and to make sure that we're teaching the software, the skill sets and so forth that's needed. We planned in our original design authentic learning projects. We want to do a lot of work-based learning. My vision was that sometime or other you'd hear an instructor say, "We're going live today." It means we're getting out of the laboratory. The laboratory, by my philosophy, is that area that is sterile, so to speak. It is controlled, it's managed, you plug in what problems and so forth. Now when we get out into the field and go into a live environment, things just happen. You never know. Lightning will strike or something will happen. We wanted projects with outcomes that would be returned to the campus, that perhaps even would assist us in improving our program. The learning had to be viable and something that would last a period of time. We found, and we still think, authentic learning provides that, and ultimately skill mastery. And retention. Very important at the community college level. JMU and other, they toss aside all their extra students, and we have to hang on to every one. And Penn State, I can see, this is up here. That's right. We look at them, say every other one, we're going to lose you. No, we've got to keep all of them. So retention, hands-on, and authentic learning was very important to us. We felt like that was the way to keep people at the technician level engaged. If you were here earlier and heard Cam Cart's presentation, I loved all of the applied math, applied chemistry, that to me, for technician level people, is important. They're interested in the application, getting their hands on it. We try to teach them algebra without using algebra in a sentence any one time, or chemistry or algebra or whatever. Go ahead. That's our climbing tower. Very important part of our training. We do all the safety types of things. You'll see a little bit later in the presentation. We talk a lot about and preach basically safety, not just as a concept but as a culture. At the technician level, again, our interest is more breadth of learning than depth of learning. Our goal is to expose students to as many different types of technologies as we can. What you find very quickly in the wind industry, most of you know this, but since I'm preaching to the choir, we'll sing the same song for a second. Once the student is, once the graduate's employed, they may well be working for somebody that has one type of a drive system. Maybe it's a direct. Some will have a geared plant. Some use multiple generators, different types of technology, sensors, and so forth. So our goal was to make sure that they were exposed. Thus, when they went to the employer, then that second level of training, or when they went on to the four-year institution, they'd pick up more. Again, the whole concept of an emphasis of safety. Even in the classroom, we don't even want them to prick their fingers with their pencil. And most of them, that's not really a problem. They've not using their pencil near enough. Go ahead. Teamwork, again, is a culture. It's an idea. It's a way of working. It's a part of this industry. There's not going to be any one person out there, kind of climbing the tower and tweaking it all by themselves. There's going to be a team of 4, sometimes 5. Computer as a tool, again, as a kind of a cultural thing. Don't look at the computer as a way to look up naked bodies. It's a way to get information. It's a way to store. It's a way to manage, information and so forth. We do a lot of work with SCADA. Our new turbine that you saw is generating an awful lot of information for us. We bought an endurance type of a unit rather than the SkyStream, some that other folks were using. It just seemed like what fit our needs in the way we were doing things. Communications as a tool. As a tool. Put it in your toolbox. Technicians generally, by my experience, are very good at talking to a piece of wood or a machine or whatever. You want the technicians to understand you're going to work in a team and you've got to communicate with people. If you want your ideas to come to realization, you've got to communicate. You've got to get the word out there to your bosses, to your fellow workers and so forth. And communication isn't just talking like I'm doing now, but it's also listening to what the other person has to say. Tools, just absolutely mandatory. Precision testing, hand, go ahead, that's fine. Industrial, go ahead. Now, where we are today, that kind of a quick, you thought it was slow, but it was quick, of where we are today. Learning with a lot of help. We're still learning. We just got back from a group of us, I didn't go this year, to the AWEA conference. We try to attend and send people every time there's something like that going on. If there's something here at JMU, we try to get somebody up here. If not several of us, at least one or more. So it takes a lot of help. I'm not going to go for the Hillary Clinton line here. I'll just let that pass. Go ahead. Workforce needs, we are expanding our understanding of what they need. We started out with a theory and we continue to build upon that theory. We think we do that by attending, go ahead, meetings, participating in different events at the local, state, regional, national level. You'll see our display, our booth set up. We do a lot of site visits, go out and see what's going on at some of the sites. We're We're involved in the public forums like this. Again, I will take away 10 times as much as I was able to bring. We're involved with committees. I have an advisory committee. Obviously, people like Jonathan Miles and Remy and others that we depend upon to keep our curriculum going in the right direction. We work a lot with AWEA. I'm on the education board and rarely get to attend it, but try to stay in contact. I'm very much looking forward to the AWEA technician certification. That, I think, is just around the corner. I served this year on the DEQ committee as an ad hoc committee to look into the development of wind policies and so forth. Several people, again, from JMU were involved with that. We just got into solar, partly to fill that gap I was telling you about with the OR course. Partly, the more we got out and talked to people in our area, in our region, in particular that are installing small wind, we were seeing more and more hybrid systems. So what we did then was to move into that realm, start teaching the solar. We've got now 2 separate solar arrays. One's a 2.5 that runs a little greenhouse in Buena Vista. We've got a 5 kW that co-located and works side by side with our turbine. So the hybrid systems is an important part of what, actually the young man that just went to work in Alaska, the solar background is really what got him the job. So we were very pleased with that. We hope to have a MET tower. We started down that trail and looked at it, and I couldn't make the grant funds work, so we backed away. One of these days I hope to have a MET tower on the campus. I found again that technicians and job availability, if they have that MET tower experience, then it provides some extra skills for employment. Theoretical foundation, go ahead. Our motto is all about where you're going. If you're going toward renewable and sustainable energy, then education is going to be a part. The technician level is very important. I was told by more people than one that I never used the word cannot in a presentation, but there it is. We cannot fully cover every item in this great, in a great depth and so forth that's necessary. There's mechanical fields, electrical, electronics and controls, hydraulics, pneumatics, composites now. We've started looking into the whole concept of different types of composites for everything from the blade to the structure. Environmental concerns. I'm not one that worries too much about a bat getting knocked down. If that, offends you, I'm sorry. Tomorrow, I see a complicated, technical, but hopefully a better world. I think that as technology grows, this industry to me is still a baby. It's amazing all of the growth that's out there, all that's happened in the last few years. I came up through the time of IBM punch cards and 8088s and all that stuff. We are about, I think, at the 8088 level, so to speak, of technology development. We've got a world ahead of us in what's coming, I believe, in wind and solar energy and renewable energy. Resources. Dollars, dollars, dollars. Half of my time seems to be in writing grants and then going, oh my God, I got that grant, now I got to manage it. So we've got PLC trainers that we had some for advanced manufacturing, but we've expanded on that through some of the feedback from the industry saying, your people need to have a good understanding of PLC, ladder logic, those type of of I/O controls. Mechatronics is a good catch term that we use a lot. Not a lot of folks know it, so it helps get some people to come up and talk to us at conventions and so forth. Just a meshing together of mechanics and electronics. A climbing tower. Last year, with our first group, we spent $15,000 to send them to Tennessee to get their climbing certification. We're able to do that now ourselves. Solar, PV, and thermal is part of what we're doing. There's the installation from one of our industry partners there, Shenandoah Tire Services. Some of you may know them, wonderful group of people here locally. And they just get bigger and bigger. Interactive training. From the very beginning, we bought equipment that provided at least web-based support. Part of our concept was highly technical students coming in. Also, our expectation was that some of our students might well get a job before they finished the program. We wanted to be able to go with them wherever they go. So right now, our curriculum is set up anywhere, anytime you can continue to get the program. Eventually, you have to come back to our campus to get the hands-on part. In some cases, I've been able to set up a kind of a relationship with another college where our students could go in to get the hands-on portion. But web-based is very important. Component replication, the things that we've bought work at the component level. I'll show you a picture here in just a second. Live labs, again, that's my favorite word, going live labs, remote access. Go ahead. We just, the 5 kW tower, 2 solar arrays, renewable energy parks in our future. That's my term. The president hasn't bought off on that yet, so we'll see what it may wind up being called. The TAFE, Dr. TAFE's our president, be the energy park. We work a lot with the public. We want the public to come in. We're trying to get rid of some of the stigma, some of the misinformation that's out there, everything from noise to the whole concept of flicker effect. That's one that I have a real difficult time with that. Our students are involved with the interactive training. That's one of our modules. That was actually designed by Clipper Wind. Every component there is from a Clipper Wind engineering group that worked with a company called Amatrol to build that trainer. It's a fully functioning turbine that we can control. Go ahead. Where do we want to be? Ask that question. There's the answer. Where do we want to be? I want to be there. Right? There, wherever there is, we're still looking for it. Go ahead. And there's some other people still looking for it as well. We want to get there, and I don't think we'll ever get there. I think in any education we're going to continue to grow. There's that lovely turbine again, monopole 5 kW, hydraulic up and down. It's a thing. It's got all kinds of memory in it. Go ahead. Wait, what'd you do, Earl? No, I did it. Go ahead. Oh, okay, I know what that blind slide is there. One of the things at the end of technician training, every once in a while, I'm lucky enough to get 2 or 3 really interested, motivated, intelligent, capable people that want to move on to a 4-year degree. You know, I work with the dirty hands guys. That's my job, to be a technician. But every once in a while you get that person that, man, so we want to work with JMU with their program. We want to work Virginia Tech. We want to work with we've been contacted now by WVU and some others that you know, it's important to us to have that option out there for our students to move on. But it's not for everybody. It's like web-based learning. It's not for everybody. I can't manage it. I have to have an instructor in front of me. Go ahead. So being able to transfer is important to us. I had to say Virginia Tech because that's where I graduated from. And I've got a picture of Remy with a Virginia Tech thing. Certifications, go ahead. Certifications, as you know, very important. We talked about the AWEA one for graduates. Click through it, go ahead. We want feedback against standards. Employers determine the value. Graduates determine the value added. OSHA 10 is obviously very important for program assessment. And then my last point in this part is initials behind your name are a must-have. You know, when you got PhD after your name, Miss Stewart, worth something, isn't it? Huh? Yeah, you got MS or MD or whatever other, you know, got to have initials behind your name and it means money. Actually, my point there is certifications in the industry do make a difference for employment. Live. You've heard me say that all the way through. Again, it's kind of one of my important concepts. Lessons in value equity is my acronym. My concept there is to bring students from multiple disciplines. You know, and I know that there are gifted and talented courses in about every academic area that you can think of. I want something for our CTE, vocational technical students. I'd like to bring them together in with a real project that could do something for our community, return something. Go ahead. We want to see that advanced class model, give them credit for it, have them understand you work in teams, people from business actually can contribute something to an engineering project, you know, etc. But the welding student has something to contribute, just the same as the advanced technician. We want to work on related renewable energy. We think there'll be some beneficial surprises for the instructor and the student. Solutions for the community. We're contacted with some regularity, talking things about, you know, where should we place a turbine if we get one? What about solar? What about this? What about that? I'd like to have a little bit better way to respond to the community. Byproducts for the classroom and the lab. Live. We are DSLCC, Wind Turbine Service Technician. Thank you very much for allowing me to be here. I'll be glad to answer questions.
So I'll ask you guys to hang out up here now so that we can address some questions. Okay, Adrian, you still with us?
I'm still here.
Okay, good. Do we have any questions? This is a shorter time period. So I think the closing session starts at what, 4:30? So we probably don't have. Oh, go ahead.
Is that 5 kilowatt endurance only 200K?
The question is, was your 5 kilowatt turbine that you installed at Dabney Lancaster really $200,000 or $250,000?
Yep. It's a lot of money. Had little to do with what the endurance cost. It had to do with state agencies, had to do with permitting, it had to do with additional costs that were added on. You know, we probably could have gotten into the unit if we'd have been a private person somewhere below 70,000. That's just the truth of the matter. It got to be. Well, I'm retiring in another week, folks, so I can say this stuff. It just got to be absurd at a certain point in time. We paid, state of Virginia, a little group called BCOM, a pile of money to do a little bit of nothing.
Are there any other questions?
That also includes that climate car. That 200,000 is that whole array there. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So.
Not just the turbine.
Right, so the whole facility and the climbing tower? Are there any other questions? Because if not, I got some questions. Because I thought this was a great panel and everybody presented some real good stuff, but I wanted to start that conversation since nobody else is. So Adrian, I know that you missed Susan's presentation, but she was talking about this short course that she had offered to industry in her area on wind energy to kind of help introduce new employees to the wind industry. And maybe she can tell you a little bit more about it, but I was just curious if that's something that the GE people, I mean, is that what you guys are looking for in terms of the things that maybe four-year colleges or two-year colleges can do to help you in what you do?
I mean, the most important thing for our technicians when they come to GEs have a strong electrical and mechanical background. The last presentation we were talking about showing all the different drivetrains and that kind of stuff. That's great if they grasp it, but what's really good is if they actually understand the torque and how current runs through something. We find a lot of time doing the theory, so when we get, because we have to get them caught up to be able to teach the specifics. The guys who come from a strong electrical and mechanical degree program, they accelerate in our specific training inside GE. I can only speak on the GE training because I've never worked for another OEM. But that's definitely my experience, and I've been an instructor for almost 3 years now in the renewable business. We primarily do wind. We do have solar also, but the same thing, electrical, electronics, they're the heart of these machines, and that helps. Now, my Women of Wind experience, we do the fact or fiction kind of seminars for local areas, which helps with the negativity and these urban legends of flicker and bats flying into them and they kill more birds than anything else, those kind of things. We do try and go against those myths and actually put facts out.
Great. Well, it sounds like then, Earl, then your idea of breadth, not depth, is actually right on target with what they're looking for, specifically at GE, but probably at other locations. Unless there's any other question, I'm going to keep going. I actually had another question for Susan. You had mentioned that a lot of what you're doing right now has online component. How can you do a lot of the hands-on things that are necessary for those engineering principles on an online scenario? Well,
I guess while there are some people at Penn State looking at actually doing laboratory type components somehow in an online setting, where the things that we're doing are really replacing just the lecture based type of information. So that, I mean, focusing at the graduate level where you don't really have the laboratory type of component allows us to do that. But the other thing is that, so we still have our traditional, master's degree, Master of Science degree, and PhD degrees, where if you choose to do an experimental component, for instance, you would need to be physically present in a laboratory on campus to do that work. This professional master's degree is really intended. It's more knowledge based, but we try to infuse as much interaction, and I'm doing that like literally now. Into the online courses as possible. It's not just reading, it's not just watching a video, but it's thinking, it's answering questions, it's interacting with others, who are also taking the course. And so we're trying to keep as much interaction as possible, but there isn't as much of we haven't tackled the laboratory component. I'm assured by many that it can be done, but I haven't seen it for myself yet.
Yeah, there may be an opportunity for some virtual environments, and I actually just attended a conference about virtual worlds and things, and there's some really great people out there who could take like wind turbine installations and have it a remote program, so it's basically like a video game where you get to go in and you tilt up your tower and you set up your anemometers and you go and hook up all your wires in the control panel and all that kind of stuff. So I think there's capabilities out there, and that would be great. I know that we would love to have some of that online stuff. But anyway, I was just thinking maybe you guys were already there. I don't know, do you all have any, I know it's late in the day and you guys have been here like forever, so unless you all have any other questions, I can ask my questions to them on my own, and you guys can go hang out, and hopefully you're going to come to our networking cookout tonight because it's going to rock, and then we're going to jam out with some fiddle music and awesome. But the closing session's upstairs in 2301, and you should head on up there, and I'll be there again, so get your fill. Thank you, Adrian.